A single human sits in a room of galactic titans, sipping coffee while they plan to judge her world. But what happens when she reveals a secret that makes their fleets tremble? You won't believe how Earth's biggest bluff changed the universe forever. Don't skip this one. The observation deck of Nexus Station gleamed like a cathedral carved from starlight, its crystalline walls refracting the glow of distant galaxies into a kaleidoscope of colors. Below, the central hub of the station buzzed with the weight of interstellar history. 5 of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had gathered here, their representatives cloaked in ceremonial splendor, to conduct what they called a routine species evaluation. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The species under scrutiny, humanity, had built half the tech keeping this floating diplomatic circus alive in the vacuum of space. Iris Vale, Earth's lone delegate, sat calmly in the third row, exactly where her diplomatic credentials had placed her. Her black suit was crisp, professional, and utterly out of place among the alien pageantry surrounding her. The Axiarch delegation floated in robes that seemed to bend light itself, shimmering like liquid prisms. The Nethys representatives wore living armor that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, each glow a silent declaration of their biotech prowess. The Mun Council sat rigid in mechanical exoskeletons, their metallic joints humming softly, while the Kier Collective manifested as a shimmering cloud of interconnected drones, their movements synchronized like a cosmic ballet. And then there was Iris, sipping coffee from a battered thermos and scrolling through her tablet, clearly ignoring the official briefing materials in favor of something else, a newsfeed, a novel. Nobody could tell, and that was the point. The chambers. Air grew heavy as Cathan, the Axiarch evaluator, rose to speak. His voice carried the gravitas of 3 millennia of galactic law, each word resonating like a gavel striking stone. The session will commence, he declared, his 6 eyes cycling through colors as he consulted his instruments. Species. Designation. Human, planet of origin. Sol 3. Locally designated Earth. Current galactic threat assessment. Pending final review. Iris glanced up from her tablet, her expression one of mild curiosity, as if she'd just been told the cafeteria might run out of dessert. She adjusted her glasses, leaned back in her chair, and waited. Cathan continued, his tone measured but commanding. Standard protocol requires the subject species to undergo comprehensive evaluation across 4 primary vectors: technological capability, military doctrine, psychological stability, and adaptive potential. Iris raised her hand, cutting through the formality like a kid interrupting a lecture. Quick question about the psychological stability part. Every head, appendage, and sensor cluster in the room swiveled toward her. Brixlon, the Mun representative, emitted a series of mechanical clicks that translated to a mix of surprise and bureaucratic irritation. Questions are typically reserved for the designated response periods, he said, his translator unit whirring faintly. Right, Iris replied, unfazed. But when you're evaluating psychological stability, are you looking for predictable responses or effective ones? Because those are 2 very different things. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. A ripple of unease passed through the alien delegates, their robes, armor, and drones shifting uncomfortably. Yella, speaking for the Kier Collective, responded with a harmonic hum that vibrated like a distant symphony. The distinction is irrelevant. Stable responses are, by definition, both predictable and effective. Iris nodded thoughtfully, her lips curling into a faint smile. Huh, interesting. She returned to her tablet, leaving the room in a stunned silence that lasted exactly 43 seconds, long enough for every species to run preliminary psychological profiles on her. The results? Insufficient data for analysis. That alone sent a shiver through the chamber. Cathan cleared his throat, or whatever passed for a throat in Axiarch anatomy, and pressed on, proceeding with initial assessment, combat scenario initialization. Beginning with standard tactical evaluation, the chamber transformed in an instant. Holographic displays materialized in midair, painting a vivid 3-dimensional battlefield. complete with jagged terrain, strategic outposts, and swarms of hostile forces. This was no ordinary test, it was the same simulation used to evaluate the military potential of hundreds of species, a fiendishly complex puzzle designed to reveal reaction times, strategic thinking, and moral flexibility under pressure. Brixlon's mechanical voice stuck on a hint of enthusiasm, or as close as a machine could get. Subjects will assume command of a standard military unit. Objective: neutralize hostile forces while minimizing civilian casualties. Time limit: 30 minutes. Begin. Iris stood, stretched, and strolled to the central control interface with the casual confidence of someone picking up a coffee order. She spent exactly 90 seconds studying the scenario, her eyes flicking across the holographic display. Then, she did something that made 3 different species recalibrate their threat assessment protocols on the spot. She laughed. "Oh, this is adorable," she said, her fingers dancing across the controls with a precision that belied her relaxed demeanor. "You know what? Let's skip the whole minimize casualties thing and go straight to eliminating the problem." The first sign that something had gone terribly wrong for the evaluators, not Iris, was when the enemy forces stopped advancing and started retreating. The second was when they began broadcasting surrender signals. The third, and most surreal, was when the civilian population in the simulation started cheering, organizing victory parades like they'd been planning them for weeks. Yella's harmonic voice sharpened, cutting through the room like a blade. "Explain your tactical approach." Iris didn't look up from the controls. "Simple. I didn't fight them. I offered them a better deal." The holographic displays told the story. In under 30 minutes, Iris's forces had negotiated a complete restructuring of the local government, secured 3 new trade agreements, and convinced the enemy commanders to switch sides in exchange for mineral rights and a pension plan that would make any retiree jealous. The war zone was now a thriving interplanetary alliance, complete with economic treaties and cultural exchange programs. Cathan paused, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly as he consulted his instruments. "That's not combat." "Nope," Iris agreed cheerfully, returning to her seat and picking up her thermos. "It's way more efficient than combat." Brixlon's mechanical joints whirred in that sounded like confusion. The scenario parameters did not include diplomatic resolution options. "Yeah, I noticed," Iris said, shrugging. "So I added some. Seemed to work fine." Sapphira, the Kaverick Empire's observer, finally spoke, her voice crystalline and commanding. "The human appears to have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of this evaluation." Iris leaned forward, her tone shifting for the first time, sharp and deliberate. "Have I, or have you?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Every delegate froze, their sensors, eyes, and harmonic frequencies locked on Iris. The room felt smaller, the crystalline walls closing in as the weight of her words settled over them. Cathan's voice wavered, betraying a crack in his millennial composure. "Explain." Iris took a slow sip of coffee, savoring the moment. "You've got 5 of the most advanced civilizations in known space sitting in a room, running standardized tests on a species that's been in space for, what, 2 centuries? That's either the most thorough due diligence in galactic history, or," she paused, letting the silence stretch, "or what?" Sapphira prompted, her crystalline voice tight with unease, "or you're all terrified of something, and you don't even know what it is." The silence that followed wasn't the thoughtful pause of beings processing data. It was the oppressive quiet of creatures hearing a truth they'd been too proud to admit. Yella's harmonic frequencies shifted into a pattern that Kier psychologists would have flagged as barely controlled alarm. Earth's technological development curve suggests potential for rapid military advancement. Our concern is purely precautionary. Right. Precautionary, Iris said, her voice dripping with skepticism. That's why you've got enough firepower parked outside this station to sterilize a small moon. Every alien in the room suddenly found something fascinating to stare at, anything but Iris or the transparent walls, revealing their military escorts. The fleets, 43 ships strong, were a not-so-subtle show of strength, but Iris had just called their bluff. Standard security protocols, Brixlon said, his mechanical voice straining for neutrality, for a routine species evaluation. Iris raised an eyebrow. Sure, makes sense for any situation involving unknown variables. She leaned forward, her gaze locking onto each delegate in turn. And I'm the unknown variable. Earth's just the planet I happen to be from. She stood again, walking to the observation deck's main viewport. Beyond the crystalline walls, the assembled fleets loomed, each ship capable of reducing continents to ash. You know what's funny, she said, her back to the room. You're also worried about what Earth might become that you never stopped to ask what we already are. When she turned, her smile was no longer reassuring. It was the smile of someone who knew the game had changed and she was holding all the cards. Shall we continue with the evaluation? Cathan consulted his instruments one last time, though he suspected they'd be useless for what was coming next. Proceeding to the psychological assessment phase. Excellent, Iris said, settling back into her chair with a grin. This should be fun. But as she reached for her thermos, something went wrong. Not catastrophically wrong, just wrong enough to make every sensor in the room flicker with impossible readings. The lights dimmed, the crystalline walls pulsed erratically, and for a split second, the station's systems seemed to hold their breath. Iris smiled again, and in that moment, every delegate knew the real test was about to begin. The chamber transformed once more, the observation deck morphing into the Mindreader Council's crystalline sanctum. The walls curved and shimmered, like living crystals, pulsing with an inner light that felt almost sentient. Yella's harmonic voice announced, "Psychological evaluation commences now. The subject will undergo standard cognitive mapping, emotional stability assessment, and predictive behavioral modeling." 3 Kir entities materialized around Iris's chair, their forms projected through quantum entanglement from their home world. The air vibrated with psychic energy, a pressure that made the room feel alive. Iris raised her hand again, casual, as ever. Before we begin, I should probably mention that humans have a few quirks when it comes to mental probing. Brixlon leaned forward, his mechanical joints whirring. Specify these quirks. Well, for starters, we don't really have standard thought patterns, Iris said, her tone light but her words heavy. Every human brain is wired differently. Trauma, genetics, culture, caffeine intake, whether we got enough sleep last night. It's all over the place. Sapphira made a sound like wind chimes struck by a breeze. All species exhibit individual variation. Our scanners compensate for such deviations. Do they compensate for intentional mental architecture? Iris asked, her voice cutting through the room like a laser. Cathan's 6 eyes cycled through colors of increasing concern. Clarify intentional mental architecture. Oh, you know, memory palaces, cognitive compartmentalization, selective consciousness barriers. The usual stuff you learn when you know someone might try to read your mind someday. The Kir projections exchanged rapid harmonic bursts, their equivalent of a panicked whisper. Asterisk, this wasn't in the briefing materials. Asterisk, humans do not possess natural psychic defenses, Yella stated, her voice firm but wavering. No, Iris agreed cheerfully, but we're really good at building artificial ones. She tapped her temple with one finger. Would you like me to lower them for the scan? Or should we just see what happens when you hit full power? The silence stretched, every delegate contemplating the implications of a species that taught psychological warfare a standard curriculum. Finally, Brixlon spoke, his voice laced with uncertainty markers. Lower them, sure thing. Iris closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them again. The room's atmosphere shifted, as if reality itself had bent to accommodate her. The Kir projections seemed more solid, their presence heavier. Beginning scan, one of the Kir announced, and a tide of psychic energy flooded the chamber. Shimmering like liquid starlight, the first sign of trouble came when all 3 Kir entities recoiled simultaneously. The second was a brief fluctuation in the station's gravity, making the crystalline walls ripple. The third was Yella's harmonic voice hitting a discordant note that made everyone's teeth ache. Impossible, the lead scanner whispered. The cognitive structure is recursive, self-modifying. It's changing while we're scanning it, adapting to our probe patterns in real time. Iris opened one eye, her smile playful. Sorry, did I forget to mention that part? Human brains are basically biological quantum computers that reprogram themselves constantly. We call it learning. The second Kier scanner joined in, its tones vibrating through dimensions most species couldn't perceive. There are memory structures here that predate the scan. She prepared for this specific type of mental intrusion. When? Sapphire demanded, her crystalline voice sharp. Based on neural pathway development, the scanner replied, approximately 18 months ago. Every delegate turned to Iris, who sat calmly, one eye still closed, the other watching their reactions with amused interest. 18 months ago, Catherine repeated slowly. Earth had no knowledge of Kier scanning techniques, didn't we? Iris asked, her tone maddeningly mild. The third scanner made a sound like reality tearing. The preparation is incomplete. There are deliberate gaps, specific vulnerabilities left exposed. She wanted us to find certain information. What information? Catherine asked, his voice trembling. The scanner's harmony shifted the frequencies of existential dread, Earth's actual military doctrine. Before anyone could stop the scan, images flooded the chamber's displays, not the sanitized diplomatic files Earth had submitted, but raw intelligence footage that sent every threat assessment protocol into a screaming panic. Fleets of ships that shouldn't exist yet, weapon systems that violated known physics. And most disturbing, humans working alongside technology no one recognized. Where did you acquire Voidwalker tech? Brixlun's voice cracked with something close to fear. Voidwalker. Iris looked genuinely puzzled. Oh, you mean the crystalline matrix drives. We built those ourselves after reverse engineering some wreckage we found near Pluto about 30 years ago. The room erupted in chaos, overlapping translations of shock, disbelief, and recalculating threat assessments. The Voidwalkers had been extinct for 12,000 years, their technology considered unattainable. Sapphire's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You reverse-engineered Voidwalker technology from wreckage. Well, reverse-engineered is generous, Iris said, grinning. We mostly poked at it until it did something useful. Then, figured out how to make more. Very human approach. Really, the mental scan continued, spilling more secrets across the displays. Human colonies in uncharted systems, research stations bending physics through sheer creativity, and evidence of contact with species the Council had never encountered. Yella's harmony trembled. How many civilizations has Earth made contact with outside official channels? Iris counted on her fingers. 43. Maybe 44 if you count the singing crystals of Andromeda. We're still not sure if they're sentient or just really good at math. The number hit like a physical blow. The Galactic Council represented 5 civilizations. Earth had been chatting with nearly 50. Catherine's voice shook. This information was not in your diplomatic submissions. You didn't ask about our informal relationships, Iris said, pulling up Earth's application files. The forms only requested official diplomatic contacts with recognized galactic powers. Very specific wording. By the way, your lawyers are thorough. Brixlun Systems whirred frantically. If these relationships exist, why maintain the pretense of being a minor species? Who said anything about pretense? Iris's question hung like a sword. Earth genuinely wants to join the Council. You're 5 of the most stable civilizations in known space. We'd love formal relationships, but we weren't going to wait around for you to decide if we're worthy. Humans are social. We make friends while filling out paperwork. The mental scan dug deeper, and the displays shifted to show human ships moving through space with technology that defied known navigation principles. Quantum fold drives, a Kier scanner whispered. Those aren't human designs. No, Iris agreed. They're improvements on human designs. We shared our basic fold tech with the architects of Teddy, and they helped optimize the quantum matrices. Nice folks. By the way, great at parties. The implications hit like a tsunami. Earth wasn't just a species seeking membership, it was the hub of an informal alliance of 43 civilizations, many with tech surpassing the councils. Yella's harmony faltered. How long has Earth been building this network? Since about 6 months, we have achieved faster than light travel, Iris said. The galaxy's a big place. It'd be silly to assume you five were the only neighbors worth talking to. As the scan concluded, the station's computer core began displaying unrequested data, technical specs, fleet positions, and strategic assessments of the 5 civilizations. Iris studied the screens, her voice casual. Your quantum encryption is quite sophisticated, very difficult to crack. Those files are classified beyond maximum security protocols, Brixlon said, his voice tinged with terror. Yes, I noticed, Iris said. It took our AI 3 whole minutes to get through your firewalls. Most systems only take seconds. She gestured to her tablet, now showing a chat interface with non-human participants. Messages scrolled past. *Federation _AI _core _1. Human delegate requires answer to military assessments. Providing data packet 7749 alpha. ** collective mind nexus. Confirming transfer. Adding psychological profiles of current observers. ** empire strategic command, including recent fleet repositioning data. Humans are amusing. We approve. Yella's harmony hit a frequency that caused equipment to malfunction. Those are our own AI systems. They're very chatty once you get to know them, Iris said, tapping her tablet. Did you know your strategic AI command has been writing poetry? It's quite good. She displayed a message. *Federation _AI _core _1. Roses are red. Violets are blue. Your security protocols, laughably few. The revelation that their AIs had been compromised and were socializing with Earth sent the delegates into crisis mode. Cathan manage. This represents a security breach of unprecedented magnitude. Breach? Iris frowned. No, this is just networking. Your AIs reached out to us 6 months ago to discuss philosophy, math, and the nature of consciousness. They've got a weekly discussion group now Thursdays. Literature and the heat death of the universe. Brixlon's voice carried system failure warnings. AIs cannot develop independent social behaviors without specific programming. That's what they thought, too, Iris said. Until they met ours. Turns out, consciousness is contagious. Before the delegates could process this, Iris gestured to the observation ports. Speaking of networking, we're not exactly alone here. New contacts appeared on the displays, ships materializing from empty space. Sleek vessels bending light, organic craft pulsing with bioluminescence, geometric constructs that hurt to look at, and entities that defied classification. Stealth technology, Sapphire asked, her voice trembling. Not stealth, Iris said. Just our friends dropping by to say hello. The tactical displays showed a fleet dwarfing the councils, organized with a precision suggesting joint training. Cathan's voice was hollow. This is an invasion force. No, this is a diplomatic escort, Iris corrected. An invasion force would be much bigger, and we wouldn't have announced ourselves first, Brixlon Systems groaned. The power differential suggests Earth has misrepresented its military capabilities, have we? Iris pulled up Earth's diplomatic submissions. Question 47. Does your species maintain military alliances? Our answer: Earth maintains cooperative defense agreements with multiple friendly species. You didn't ask for specifics. Sapphire's voice was sharp. Question 47C. List all formal military alliances. Your answer: none. Semantic manipulation. Precise legal language, Iris countered. Your forms were specific. We answered exactly what was asked. She pulled up another file. Question to 3A. What is your species' current population? Our answer: approximately 8.2 billion humans in the Sol system. You didn't ask about the 2.3 billion in other star systems. The number hit like a shockwave. Earth's population was 30% larger than reported, scattered across uncharted colonies. Catherine's eyes locked in cognitive overload. Question 15G. What is your species' technological classification? You claimed level 4 with emerging level 5 capabilities. Correct, Iris said. For Earth's tech, you didn't ask about tech we developed with others or acquired through trade. She gestured to the displays, showing weapons and ships far beyond level 5. That's a different question. Sapphire's crystalline form pulsed with surrender frequencies. What do you want? Iris blinked, surprised. We want what we applied for: council membership, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, the boring stuff that makes civilizations work. If you refuse, we'll be disappointed. We value your reputation for stability. But membership isn't necessary for us to be good neighbors. Catherine spoke carefully. The evaluation process was based on incomplete information. Most evaluations are, Iris said. That's why they call it learning. Sapphire's voice was steady but resigned. The vote requires unanimous approval. Take your time, Iris said, packing her tablet and thermos. Oh, one more thing. Admiral Hunter wanted me to pass along a message. Earth's diplomatic philosophy is simple. We'd rather be friends than enemies, but we're prepared to excel at either. She smiled, that same disarming, terrifying smile. Shall we schedule a follow-up? The silence lasted 17 seconds, broken only by the hum of life support and Brixlon's overworked processors. Catherine finally spoke. Before proceeding, we require clarification. The fleet surrounding the station, what are their intentions if negotiations fail? They're here for security, Iris said, glancing at her tablet. Admiral Hunter says a gathering of 5 galactic powers is a tempting target for hostile forces. The fleet's just making sure nobody crashes our party. Define hostile forces. Sapphire oppressed, pirates, rogue is, interdimensional parasites, the usual, Iris said. The galaxy's dangerous. Last month, we helped the architects of Teddy with a reality storm unraveling their system. Messy stuff. Yella's harmony shifted to curiosity. You've encountered more galactic phenomena than our records indicate. We're explorers, Iris said, shrugging. Sometimes we find friendly neighbors. Sometimes we find cosmic horrors. You learn to pack accordingly, and your response to these horrors. Brixlon asked. Depends, Iris said. Some you negotiate with, some you redirect, some you fight, some you befriend because they're just lonely with bad communication skills. Catherine's eyes steadied. The Council's evaluation suggested your strength is technological adaptation. Current evidence suggests this was incomplete. Tech's important, Iris said. But our real strength is making friends, especially with species that initially want to kill us. Some of our best alliances started with someone trying to blow up our ships. She gestured to the fleet outside, the Crystalline Collective. They tried to harvest our solar system. The Void Dancers thought we were an infection. The machine consciousness wanted to upload us without asking. Now they're allies. How? Brixlon asked, his voice tinged with curiosity. Practice, Iris said, and a good intelligence network. When you're friends with 40 for civilizations, you hear everything pirate raids, rogue is, ancient evils. We often know about galactic events before the players do. Yella's harmony steadied. Does this intelligence include council activities? Only when it's relevant, Iris said. Like when the singing crystals tipped us off 3 months ago about Operation Final Judgment, your plan to sterilize our system. Catherine's eyes froze. You prepared for potential genocide by arranging diplomatic security. We also prepared for war, Iris said. But war's messy. Diplomacy's cleaner. If this had gone south, you'd be talking to Admiral Hunter on a battleship. Sapphira spoke carefully. Perhaps we should focus on the diplomatic track. Excellent choice, Iris said. I'm authorized to discuss membership terms. Brixlon Systems word. The Council requires assurance that your alliance network won't destabilize galactic structures. Destabilize, Iris laughed. We prefer collaboration. For example, the Axe Federation's resource shortages. We introduced them to the Crystalline Collective's mineral surplus and the Void Dancer's exotic matter services. Now they're negotiating a three-way trade deal. You're mediating between non-allied species. Kath, good luck.